Welcome to our podcast, and this week at London Visited, we go to Green Park to tell you all about this iconic part of London, right next to the Ritz Hotel on Piccadilly. My name is Steve, and each week I bring to you the facts, history and information about different parts of this great capital. If you've been to London, are planning on visiting, live here or just love London from afar, then this is the podcast for you. Also, don't forget our YouTube channel, London Visited, to see videos covering this place and so many others across London. And now to this week's podcast. Green Park covers just over 40 acres between Hyde Park and St James's Park. Together with Kensington Gardens and the Gardens of Buckingham Palace, these parks form an almost unbroken stretch of open land, reaching from Whitehall and Victoria Station to Kensington and Notting Hill. In contrast with its neighbouring parks, Green Park has no lakes, no buildings, no playgrounds and few monuments, having only the Canada Memorial, the Diana Treetops Fountain and the RAF Bomber Command Memorial by Philip Jackson. The park almost consists entirely of mature trees rising out of the turf, daffodils during the spring, and the only other flowers are naturalised narcissus. The park is bounded on the south side by Constitution Hill, on the east by the pedestrian Queen's Walk, and on the north by Piccadilly. It meets St James's Park at Queen's Gardens, with the Victoria Memorial at its centre, opposite the entrance to Buckingham Palace. To the south is the ceremonial avenue of the Mall, and the buildings of St James's Palace and Clarence House overlook the park to the east. Green Park Underground Station is a major interchange located on the Piccadilly, Victoria and Jubilee lines, near the north end of Queen's Walk. The Tyburn stream runs beneath Green Park. The park is originally said to have been swampy burial ground for lepers from the nearby hospital of St James. It was first enclosed in the 16th century when it formed part of the estate of the Pulteney family. In 1668, an area of the Pulteney estate, known as the Sandpit Field, was surrendered to Charles II, who made the bulk of the land into Royal Park as Upper St James's Park, and enclosed it with a brick wall. He laid out the park's main walkways and built an ice house there to supply him with ice for cooling drinks in the summer. In 1746, Upper St James's Park was officially renamed the Green Park. It may have been because the park was an open meadow with few trees at the time, or it may date back to a tale about Charles II and his wife. Apparently, she discovered that Charles had picked the flowers in the park for another woman. In revenge, the Queen ordered that every single flower in the park should be pulled up and no more planted. The Queen's Walk was laid out for George II's Queen Caroline. It led to the reservoir that held the drinking water for St James's Palace, called the Queen's Basin. At the time, the park was on the outskirts of London and remained an isolated area well into the 18th century, when it was known as the haunt of highwaymen and thieves. Prime Minister Horace Walpole was one of the many to be robbed there. During the 18th and 19th centuries, it was a popular place for ballooning attempts and public firework displays. Handel's Music for the Royal Fireworks was composed specifically for a fireworks celebration held in the Green Park in 1749. The park was also known as a duelling ground. One particularly notorious duel took place there in 1730 between William Pulteney, 1st Earl of Bath, and John Hervey, 1st Earl of Bristol. In 1820, John Nash landscaped the park as an adjunct to St James's Park. On the 10th of June 1840, it was the scene of Edward Oxford's assassination attempt on Queen Victoria on Constitution Hill. So, I hope you enjoyed our look at Green Park. Whatever podcast service you use to listen to this, please do subscribe to get updates on new shows. And also, please do leave us some feedback. Please let me know any places you'd like us to feature in future podcasts, and you can let me know through our website, www.londonvisited.co.uk, by emailing me directly on londonvisited@gmail.com or contacting us on Twitter and Instagram @LondonVisited or Facebook on @TheLondonVisited. Thanks for listening. Really hope you enjoyed our podcast, and we'll see you soon on the next one.